Hey everyone, and welcome back to the Warcraft news. It's one that's ended up being a lot more wild and wacky than I first thought, because the mad lads at Blizzard have just went and gone.
Looks like he's a CEO for a startup. Exactly.
That sure was a surprise. They've also lost a major office, which we need to get into. They have changed up conduits and legendaries. They've made a very, very, very strange change to Covenant abilities and a bunch of other things, including some lovely lore. So even if half of this video is going to be utter chaos, we are going to talk about, well, the people who literally created the universe, because that came out. Yeah, pretty wild. And speaking of cool stuff, Rogue Pin, it's on Patreon this month, and while the pin is not yet in the office, as I think is befitting a rogue, here is how it's, well, grown up since you've last seen it in our little preview. Yeah, it's coming together, pretty cool to see. I'm also happy to announce that we are doing a fresh run of one of our most popular specials. It is these guys. Many of you loved these the last time, and you know what? The whole Patreon situation has grown so much that we thought it would be a good time to do another run of them for that nostalgia hit, give people an opportunity. We're also, of course, spooking things up with this month's art as well, and we've also even got snazzy new packaging, which we've been able to do. That was very fun. Thank you for everything. That looks
like the packaging that like Hogwarts would use if they send you a letter to tell you that you're a wizard.
Seriously, your support has directly created 2 new jobs since September. That's pretty awesome. And all goes back into the content. So,
if that was Blizzard, it would have got. Do I even need to make that joke? Let's just watch the video. Never mind. Like, I mean, we've roasted. Like, come on.
Thank you, and let's go.
Blizzard
First up, the French situation, and this is real stuff, okay?
Yeah.
Blizzard is losing. They're closing their office in France. Now, this office was their European HQ, and believe me, this is a pretty big move. This was their main presence in the EU, and it has been ran by Blizzard independently since its inception. Yeah,
there's somebody was messaging me about this, like somebody from Europe. Very upset about this because of the these are the people they used to communicate with, and now they don't have this anymore. I bet that fucking sucks, dude. Yeah, I bet it fucking sucks. Makes EU great again. The worst thing about it is apparently they're doing some kind of bullshit to where there's like a law in the EU where you can't just fire people for no reason or something like that. So they're like changing some sort of like weird rules, and then they're gonna fire more people next year. It's crazy to me, man. It really is. Capitalism. It's so.
A number of years ago. Now already 134 of the 400 roles at that building were axed with the 2019 sort of big cut, right? Remember the big Activision-Blizzard layoff wave.
Yeah.
So it's been a strange situation for those staff since, but it does seem like the rest of the jobs are now actually up for being cut as well. Now currently, staff do not know if they will be offered new roles, and they're basically just being expected to trundle on with their jobs, knowing
just do your dailies and do your weekly Mythic Plus, and then show up on Tuesday and open up your box, and sometimes it will have a job in it, and sometimes it won't. That's good. I mean, you know, it's good. What a great way of handling things. Oh no.
That something
Don't forget
spooky
to smile.
is going to happen to them in the near future. And I mean, that's obviously what's happening because, of course, I work with people on that team. And last I checked, they're still sending me beta keys and, you know, giving me PR kits and stuff like that. So they're still trucking along. And it just seems...
Wait, beta keys and PR kits? What was it? What the hell, dude? Where's my shit? Yeah. They gotta send me some more free shit. I actually don't even want any more free shit. I've got so much shit in my room. But where's my shit? You suck.
We don't really know externally what's going to be going on. Now, earlier on this year, there actually were some rumblings, that I think a whole bunch of people could confirm, of there being some sort of plan to close the France office and to move its roles outside of Blizzard Entertainment. The plan there was actually for the parent organization, Activision-Blizzard, who of course handle Call of Duty and Candy Crush, things like that. Basically, for things to be moving over to the London Activision-Blizzard office. Now, according to Bloomberg, that plan is actually in jeopardy because of COVID and Brexit-related concerns, making London seem like a bit of an iffy proposition.
What a convenient opportunity for them to lay off more people. Isn't that is convenient? That's so convenient. Wow, that's crazy. You believe that? Just the way that these two things kind of just come together. Huh. Wow, that's oh my God.
To the decision makers at ActiBliz. Now, Patrick Beja, who is, of course, co-host of The Instance, the longest running, I believe, like World of Warcraft podcast ever. Well, he used to work at that office, and he did post a very useful Twitter thread. Okay. And he basically talked about how this directly shifts a number of core responsibilities to Activision, if it is to happen. And that Activision run things quite a bit differently.
Wait a minute. Isn't that what the jailer did in Shadowlands? Is instead of all the anima going to, you know, like Ardenweald or whatever, it all went to the Maw? Is Activision the Maw? Wait, then does that mean that Bobby is the jailer? Oh no. Oh no, dude. Ah, shit. Shadowlands is an allegory.
Blizzard, and the Blizzard are very much developer-led. And I actually have, I think, an example of that.
Yeah.
Remember Pepe, right? The cute bird from the Warlords of Draenor expansion.
Well, frog
I heard rumblings that the reason why he was removed from the Blizzard Gear Store was apparently at the request of the WoW dev team. Now, it's like info that I would trust, and I guess as to why that happened, I can personally think of one of two things. Maybe they were a bit worried about, of course, the popular cartoon frog of the internet and the same name.
Oh, these fucking idiots. Like, I'm sorry, Pepe was one of the best fucking things that they added. Pepe was the best thing about WoD. Like, I really, like, is there anything else that we can think of that would be better than that for WoD? It was. That what's sad about this is I didn't get one. Losing to 4chan. I guess so. Well, I don't guess so. Like, this is obviously unsubstantiated, but we'll see what else Bellular says about it.
Being shared between the two of them, or maybe them just wanting to remove kind of like cutesy things from the store, because I did notice at the time a bunch of cutesy things like that, and I think like some of the leggings and stuff that were a bit less like orcs and swords kind of got taken out. So
get the fuck out of here! Where is he? Where is he? Cutesy thing? Where's the alpaca? Where's my alpaca? Tell me they're getting rid of cutesy things. Look at this. Look at this. You're getting rid of cutesy things. They're getting rid of cutesy things, guys. It's okay. It's cool. Yeah, my mom bought it for me for being a good boy.
Hard to know what's going on there, but point is, Patrick, that a lot of things were actually surprisingly developer-led at Blizzard, and that this change of responsibilities from the Blizzard France office over to some sort of shared Activision-Blizzard unit, like the one that already exists in London, that would obviously be a loss of control for Blizzard, and therefore it literally would be things going to Activision. Ooh. That's basically it. And this would mean that more things would be basically led by, you know, PR and stuff. Now, as you know, a while ago, I covered tweets from Tips Out, a classic streamer, who basically tweeted that a Blizzard dev talked to him, and that dev talked about Activision moving in, and how what we've seen, you know, the headlines and websites like Kotaku, is basically just the tip of the iceberg. Now,
there's some other things. Same teeth. It doesn't have any teeth. What do you mean? Listen, so I'm going to tell you guys something about exactly. Yeah. Listen, I hope you guys know this, right? Like, I baited that response just so you guys could feel clever about saying exactly. I knew you'd say that, and I'd said that just to make you guys feel good about yourselves. Okay? Just remember that. Yeah, just so you guys can feel good about yourselves. So, Tips and I have a lot of the same friends. I'm sorry to say, but he's right. You'll see in the next probably coming months or maybe even weeks. You'll see.
I can also confirm, of course, as I've said in the past, that I did speak to a Blizzard developer last year, and that individual was very sad about how things were going. And overall, it does seem that, yes, the core of this point is that the decision-making power is shifting away from the development teams, and as Jason Schreier reported in a lot of his reporting on Blizzard back when he was still with Kotaku, a lot of that's moving over to finance and different departments, and the Blizzard is basically about cutting all, like, non-essential costs and doubling down on the development resources. So that's really the key point here. This is just more of Activision moving in. In this case, a Blizzard office is going, and those roles are going to be taken up by some sort of Activision Blizzard office, it seems. Is this a good thing? I would say no. I don't think it is a good thing whatsoever. You know, I mean, I'm now wondering, who will my point of contact be at Blizzard? Will the person that I, talk to...
It's the same as mine, Bellular. You tweet at him. And you know what happens after you tweet at him? Nothing. Yeah, that's it. Yeah, you tweet at him.
When the EU people talk to, when we coordinate, will they still have a job? We do not know.
Yeah.
And to be clear there, the EU team has always been pretty awesome to work with. It really seems like they were never given the budget they deserved, but they always, as individuals, did pull through and try as hard as they could to do right by us, as I guess.
That's 100% true. Like, I remember, like, my point of contact for a while, I guess I can say it's like not my only point of contact, but like one of the people that I would talk to and I was friends with was Caden, remember Yethesons? And like losing him like really sucked. And so like this always, like this is the same thing that happened to me like a year and a half ago. Yeah, it did really suck. And like he and I are still friends and everything like that. Like, yeah, of course. But like it just sucks that like I had like a really good point of contact, somebody I really got along with, and I don't know, it just sucks what happened to him. That's what it is. I remember like his thing got trending. Because I remember everybody was worried because like he was so well liked by the community, and that's like what was so sad about it is like he was so well liked and so many people were like friendly towards him and like positive about him, and then they let him go anyway. It's a huge disappointment.
People they were working with.
He's chilling.
So it's a little bit rough. Now it is also the case that they're in France. French labor laws are pretty good for the workers, so they probably will get excellent severance packages. Certainly, if you're looking at what they're going to get from a US context, you'll probably be slightly flabbergasted. And perhaps that's one of the reasons why Activision Blizzard actually would not like to be open in that country because, well, it's very worker-friendly, which in some cases is not as business-friendly.
It's not worker-friendly. There's two different things. There's worker-friendly and there's Bobby-friendly. That's what it is. And that's the worrying thing about it, man. I'm sorry. Like, it's... I can't say that. Never mind. Okay. I'll ask who told me that and say if I can say that.
If they are going to want to be as cutthroat as they sometimes do want to be. Overall here, Blizzard used to be extremely independent. That's decreased over time. It will continue to decrease.
Yeah.
And also, don't blame Ian and Co. for everything, right?
No.
It's the sort of thing, when Blitzchung happened, Blizzard employees protested to their own company. There's one example. I mean, hey, the person who's working at a petrol station, do you blame them for big oil? No. There's a lot of great people at Blizzard who are just trying to...
I hate that, dude. Like, I'm gonna be honest. I'm sorry I paused. It's kind of like a... I hate it whenever people have like a... When people have a grudge against a company... and then they take that grudge out on employees. I really don't like that. I feel like that's just it's so trashy to me. It's so trashy.
Do their jobs and make games that they love. This stuff ain't on them. But certainly, it does bode rather badly, and then we also must remember that Mike Morhaime set up Dreamhaven, like, literally, he did that when his non-compete expired. So that's pretty telling. It's not like he was wandering the abyss, wondering what to do with his life. It really seems like he quit Blizzard,
that's sad.
And just as soon as this thing went, he just set up a new company. So, I don't know. Doesn't bode well for Blizzard, and certainly I wish all the staff affected the very best in these, probably for them, very difficult times.
Someone says in
the
chat,
patch 9.
They say if you don't like representing a company, then don't be a customer service representative. How about this? Don't be an asshole. Just don't be an asshole. How about, yeah, it's simple.
0.1 official patch notes have a strange detail. I'll read it for you. Water now regenerates mana slower in the first seconds you begin drinking, increasing to a rapid return as you drink continuously.
This is good.
Yep, quick sips have been nerfed. Why? What? Hello?
So Bellular might have a blind spot on this because he doesn't really do a lot of arena, but I remember whenever I was talking about this, I actually learned a lot of things that I didn't know either. The reason that they changed this is because of arena. So they want to have it to where getting quick sips of drinking off is not as rewarded as drinking for a long period of time. And I actually think that's a good change. I know it sounds like such a counterintuitive and weird thing, especially for something that's been in the game for so long, but whenever people explained it to me and I thought about the implications behind it, I actually think it was a good change.
This is a big increase in healer stress, in my opinion.
Yeah,
sometimes
I'd be fine with
you're
that.
a healer, you're in a sticky situation, you want a quick glug while that tank is zooming off somewhere.
Yeah,
you just want a little bit more mana.
That's actually a good point.
Or, you know, maybe you've just killed a mob and you just want one or two glugs before you try the next one in the open world, as an example. Not that that's really a thing for most classes, but still, this is a bit weird. This is a quality of life downgrade to getting mana back in general use cases. That's just what it is, right? I mean, this certainly makes the act of clicking the drink button and having the upshot of that button.
It's a meaningful choice. See, that's what it is, right? It's the same as like once you pick your covenant, you're locked into your covenant for 2 weeks. Well, once you pick your drink, you're locked into that for 30 seconds. It works. There it is. I don't know, like, I actually agree with a lot of people in chat. What they're saying is like they should make it only for arena. If this is a PvP centric change, then yes, they should make it only for arena or only for RBGs, etc. I agree with that.
You know, it makes that less responsive. So that's a bit weird.
Yeah,
I mean, often you do just want
a
quick top up of mana, and it seems like that is being nerfed a little bit. Now, these nerfs must be viewed in the context of Blizzard being these sort of habitual problem solvers. As I sort of said, sometimes they solve problems even though it may not be to the greater good of the player experience. So what are the problems that this could solve? Well, it's a nerf to two things in my mind. It's a nerf to healers who sneak away for a quick drink in PvP. Maybe they feel like that's not balanced in 3v3 arenas.
Yeah.
I did see some Twitter comments mention something about a recent arena match, but I don't actually watch, the competitive arena stuff. I don't really care that much. So I don't know if you're a PvPer, maybe you understand this a bit more. And also, it could be a nerf to healers who just want a quick drink in between packs in Mythic Plus gameplay, which is fine, but then you do have to kind of wonder, is this to punish them? Why do they deserve to be punished? How are they doing something that was not intended? Is this supposed to slow down the rate of pulls, perhaps, in Mythic Plus? And if that is the case, then, I mean, I could understand maybe in a...
Too much throttling. Again, I just feel like this is another example of needless throttling. If you're talking about doing it in, like, Mythic Plus, I think that, like, for example, in Mythic Plus, it's not really that big of a deal because every player has access to the same tools and you're not competing directly against other players. You're competing against yourself. And I don't really like how I don't like how Blizzard has taken such a hands-on approach to trying to throttle the way that players approach the game. And I'm seeing this happen a lot more. And I think that the drinking thing, unless it's done for the sole purpose of PvP, which I think is completely valid, then I don't really agree with it. Now, maybe if somebody that did a lot of Mythic Plus would have a different opinion on it and different insight, maybe I would change my opinion. But what I'm thinking right now is that it doesn't seem like it makes a lot of sense to me. What is this here? Everyone on skill-based gameplay, when they put in skill-based gameplay mechanics, everyone freaks out. Yeah, well, I think the thing is that, like, people don't want this skill-based gameplay mechanic. Like, sitting down and drinking, I think a lot of people don't consider it a skill-based mechanic. I remember back in Mists of Pandaria, one thing I liked a lot about it is that almost all classes that had mana had one way to recover their mana. So I remember like shamans could lightning bolt for more mana, and I'd actually like to see more components of mana regeneration be more active instead of focusing more on drinking, because I find that's more fun and more active gameplay than just simply not playing the game. I like that a lot more.
MDI competitive sort of perspective wanting to do that, but in the real world for the vast majority of players, good luck getting pug tanks to
really
actually follow along with that. So it just seems to me like this is going to really stress out healers, and that's a role that already stresses people out quite a bit.
Fuck them.
Why? I mean, I think those may be the reasons. Is that worth it? Is this a bit pointless? Do a lot of people see Shadowlands has been delayed and then look at this list of changes and think, why is it being delayed? Is this really what you're doing? Now, I would say that I doubt that these changes were what it was delayed for, obviously, but that's going to be a lot of the perspective. It's going to be what people actually sort of think when they see these things. So I don't know, man. Seems a bit strange to me. And again, this and the Covenant abilities not being used outside of the core Shadowlands content. To me, I see these two changes and I'm like, why? I understand there could be some small problems you're solving with this, but why?
I'm actually really glad that Blizzard... So, to me, I'm completely okay with Blizzard putting out changes sometimes and then, like, saying, like, okay, well, we're going to put this out, see how players react to it, and then if players don't like it, we'll change it. Like, that seems fine to me. Like, what's wrong with that? The only problem I really kind of have is, like, some of the changes, like not allowing Covenant abilities in the whole game. It's like, what is the logic between doing that? Like, I just worry that, like, and this sounds like kind of needless complaining, but I hope people can see the validity in what I'm saying, is that in my mind, that would never be a viable option for any reason, period. It just seems like such a terrible option and such a terrible idea. Like, I don't know why that would even be on the table. So that does give me concern, even though I do respect that decision-making process. Yeah, all availabilities, yes, but it has been reverted, and I'm very happy about that. It was for the lore? No, it's not, because you compete in arenas all across Azeroth and Outland that are not in the, and same with RBGs, that are not in Shadowlands. There's no continuity with the lore at all.
Is this to the greater benefit of the player experience for the average player?
Yeah.
I don't know. Seems weird. Let me know what you think, and let's move on to something that's actually fun.
Okay. New lore. Okay.
We have some fun new lore courtesy of course, Ian Bates, red shirt guy. We all know him and love him from BlizzCon, and he got seemingly his Shadowlands press kit, a copy of the collector's edition before we did. So, grats to him.
Must be nice.
When that happened, he opened up the art book. He read the art book, and he found some really cool bits of lore, as Ian does. So, let's get into it. The first ones. Here's a quote. The first ones who shaped the cosmos knew they needed to protect the Shadowlands from external threats from beyond. Maldraxxus was their answer. There you go. The first ones shaped the cosmos. That's it. They made the whole shebang. That's what it seems to be, right? Do the first ones predate the Titans, the Pantheon of Death,
they must.
everyone? Yeah, it seems...
Well, of course they do, because Zoval, the jailer, refers to the first ones as the first ones. So, as if this is like a separate group, not including himself. So, yeah, I think this is like... Zobald? Oh, shut up. I feel like that's what it is.
That's actually the case.
Yeah.
Them being pre-Titan also is in line with the visual design of World of Warcraft 2, because if you look at things like Oribos and like the Waystone and stuff, it looks Titanic, but it looks like older than Titan.
I feel like if you want to make a fucking analogy for this, I feel like the Titans and like the Death Pantheon are like the Maiar and in like Lord of the Rings, and then the first ones are like the Valar. That's what it seems like to me. But we didn't know that before this. Does that make sense? Like, for you guys that are, like, spinning, like, Silmarillion? Yeah. And so, like, that's kind of, like, what it is. So, spot on. I feel like that's what it's going to be. Will we have an Iluvatar? I don't know. We'll find out. Well, I guess we already do. It's Chris Madsen. But besides that, I don't know.
Titanic stuff. So, there you go. The first ones sort of made everything. And this has got really big implications. We're not going to get into all of them, but it seems obvious that they ordered the Shadowlands. And I then have to wonder, like, did they create the Titans? And if they did create the Titans, you know, were they the Titans' source of inspiration when the Titans then went to, you know, order the cosmos, order the material plane? All extremely interesting stuff. Next up, we've got one on the role of the Arbiter. So here it is. Without her, souls would be lost within the infinite realms of the Shadowlands. I think that's pretty cool. So the whole thing, right, is
infinite,
you die,
there's like
you go to the
4.
Shadowlands, and she sends you off somewhere. And if she didn't exist, you'd just be floating around, I guess, in the infinite realms, right? And just this energy soup. And of course, this very much does suggest what we, I think, pretty much already did know.
Sorry, I'm gonna read this one. The first ones ordered the Shadowlands. I wonder why they didn't refund. See, every once in a while, chat actually does come up with something clever. Okay? Like, it's very rare, but every once in a while, you guys do come up with a good one.
Anyway, which is that the Arbiter was created by the first ones for this purpose. So yes, the first ones ordered the Shadowlands. And I do have to wonder then, are the first ones natives to the Shadowlands, or are they just the people who set it all up? And if that is the case, then surely the first ones, you know, ordered and set up whatever's going on in life, in Fel, in all of the other different realms, including perhaps Order, which then makes you think Titan Homeworld, Titan Home Plane. You think about those Steve Denuser Q&As, and oh dear, your brain kind of explodes because, as Ian said, was it to me? I think as Ian said to me, we're zooming out from that cosmology chart. Pretty neat. Next up, we've got the Ember Ward. Now that is the big light-scarred bit of Revendreth. Here's the quote. The Ember Ward shall forever bear the scars of the light's unjust strike against the Venthyr. To even humor the idea that our beloved sire did anything to incur the light's wrath would be an act of sedition.
Now, Sire Denathrius is a fucking sneaky, conniving-ass bitch. So, guaranteed they did the right thing. But one way or another, like, let's say it's not true. I think that if it's not true, it only, like, serves to validify the idea of the evil side of the light, or like the cruel side of the light, or whatever you want to call it. You know, lawful evil, effectively. I don't know. Like, that's cool.
Well, that's kind of fun, because we know that Denathrius is an absolute dickhead and a definite bad guy. He's our first end raid boss, so it makes sense that the light went and tried to strike out against him. Now, I would say, here's our big thing.
Probably my favorite character so far in Shadowlands.
Did the light strike out against the Sire or against the Shadowlands? That's one question. Another one, is this vengeance for the Naru that Denathrius captured, or was this Naru captured after, you know, like as a part of Denathrius beating back this incursion from the light? Either way, I think it's pretty interesting. We do see light and void incursions into the Shadowlands, which of course does make you do a big thing. So that's pretty neat. Then next up we've got the Maw, and well, okay, look, there's mentions in it that the crimes of those in the Maw cannot compare to those of the Jailer. I think that's pretty neat. They're basically setting it up so that the Jailer did some form of massive betrayal. It seems like the Jailer did some...
You know what he did? He probably said the N-word. It's not good. Yep. That's why he's the Jailer.
Something truly despicable to end up where he is. We, of course, do not know whatever he did. Seemingly, it's a betrayal of the rest of the Pantheon, right? The Primus and the Winter Queen, the Archon and co, Denathrius, of course. But we don't know what that is yet. Seemingly, though, it was a real dick move, and that's why he is down there.
Sure was.
So that's pretty cool. Sylvanas, let's go to her next. So it actually makes mention of the Jailer sending the Valkyr to her in Edge of Night. So there's that, very, very confirmed. And basically, they were her tethers to mortality. And it also makes it pretty clear that Bolvar is a false king, and that Sylvanas' big job was to claim his crown. Yeah.
What a bunch of horse shit. Like, I'm gonna be, in 10 years, I'm gonna be mad about this cinematic. I hope you guys know this. Like, in 10 years, I will be mad about this fucking cinematic. And I don't care. I'm not get over it. I will not fucking do any of that. Why? Because Bolvar is the fucking Lich King, and he should have beat the shit out of her. That's why. Like, he looks so fucking cool. And it doesn't matter. Yeah, I'm pissed. When you're 40? Yeah. Be 40 years old. Pissed about... That actually sounds really fucking sad. Never mind. Holy fuck.
Here's another one as well. The veil
really
between realms wanes. The helm of domination was crafted to be our way forward. Instead, the one seared by the flames of life uses it to keep us at bay. Now that's a big line, because if you've watched our Lich King video, which by the way, I think it's one of the best ones we've ever done. The team did such a great job, man. Oh, those edits, they're so creamy.
It was a good, great
that video, right?
It was a great, good video.
Like, one of the big things was about this, really diving into Bolvar, kind of screwing up the entire plan of the Jailer with the Lich King. And this line is directly referencing Bolvar in the same way that we believe the plot line to be. So this very much does confirm, like, our big Lich King video. And I think that means if you've not watched it, definitely watch it. It's pretty cool.
Fuck yeah.
But yeah, Bolvar, the dude was just too strong for the helm to dominate him. Was he?
Fuck off. Yeah, was he? Exactly. Dude, look at that face he makes. He's like, what?
Was he too strong? Or is it the fact that he was actually touched by the flames of life because it was Alexstrasza that made him the way that he was, and that indeed, as it says in Enemy Incursion, the Dreadlord book, that life is one of the most insidious opponents that death has, which then would mean that, whatever Alexstrasza did, perhaps made Bolvar way more strong to the dominating powers of that helm.
So I don't see how that would make sense, though, because the Helm of Domination and the power of the Jailer should supersede Alexstrasza's power, especially now that Alexstrasza is not an aspect anymore. Because, like, the Jailer, see, like, that's, like, basically... It's like Alexstrasza is, like, the middle manager of life. The Jailer is, like, the CEO of death. It's like the balance is completely fucking off. Like, it's not about just the hat. Yeah, they weaken each other. Yeah, but the Jailer should still come out ahead. I guess, like, okay, fine. Like, this is just like a minor aside, a comment that I have. But still, I don't know. Power was applied before she lost it? No, that wasn't. Because their snapshotting's not in the game anymore. They took that out. Like, of course that's not the case. They took that out, like, fucking years ago.
There you go. That is some lore from the Shadowlands art book. Certainly, I can't wait to get the art book, and I know that whenever we get the art books, it's always fun, like, sending them over right through that wall to the game dev team so that they can have a look at them. We've used them quite a bit as, bits of inspiration, so it's all pretty cool. Anyway, that's it. Let's move on.
Okay, Covenant abilities.
Then next up for the news, we've got the wild situation of Covenant abilities being deactivated outside of the Shadowlands, and then the reversion of that. And then what's even more important, Ian Hazzikostas' reasoning for basically why this entire thing happened in the first place. So, if you're not aware, in a recent beta build, it appeared that, yes, your Covenant abilities couldn't be used outside of the Shadowlands. So, if you say were a Night Fae whatever, then if you just went to Orgrimmar, you couldn't use your Night Fae abilities, and that would include your class ability and the signature ability. A lot of people thought this sucked. In fact, almost everybody thought that this sucked. The forums were pretty quickly...
Dude, I was so happy whenever... Dude, this is so funny to me. These people that thought that it was a fucking bug. Like, they coded in red text to tell you that it was a fucking bug. And, like, everybody knew that was wrong. Everybody knew that wasn't true. But there were still people that believed it. And I was so happy just to see Blizzard come out and just fucking shit in their mouth. God, that felt so good.
Flooded, and Ian Hazzikostas has actually responded, and he basically said that the team themselves were on the fence about this change, and that ultimately the feedback they've received has made it pretty clear that it was the wrong direction. Now, I think the reason why many people felt that was the wrong direction is because it was somewhat changing up the identity of their character. The idea that, you've got this stuff that is a part of your class, and then you move somewhere else, and then it's gone. That kind of erodes it being a part of your character. Now, that is all quite funny, because, of course, Ian said that in this expansion, one of their goals...
I don't think Paladins should be able to be Venthyr or Maldraxxus. I think they should only be able to be Kyrian or Night Fae. Like, I don't think they should be able to use blood abilities. Like, maybe blood abilities, maybe, like, Maldraxxus Paladin. That's stupid. It's just dumb. I don't like it.
for you to be a Kyrian paladin.
Yeah,
right?
exactly.
And I think that if you're a paladin and you change
Exactly.
zones and your Kyrian abilities go away, you're not
a
going to
Kyrian
feel like a
paladin.
Kyrian paladin.
Big truth, so real.
I think you can quite
Totally
obviously
agree.
see how that's a pretty jarring experience that even goes against some of Blizzard's own stated goals.
It sure does.
However, Blizzard's reasoning actually does show that there's a problem that we've experienced before, that we will experience again, and that they appear to be very aware of. So Ian actually said that this is something the team put in because they've been toying around with how to make these core expansion features be more tied to that expansion's content.
We don't want them tied to the core expansion's content, Ian. We want you guys to put the fucking content in the game, and then after the expansion's over and you've spent 2 years iterating on it and it finally comes out of beta, we don't want you to remove it. We want it to be in the game. We want to look forward to having more and more depth with our characters. And whenever I say we, obviously I mean me. But like, I want to see, like, I thought it's cool. Like, every expansion, your character gains more, it becomes more robust, it becomes more complete, it becomes more powerful. Is it a point where sometimes it grows to the point of homogenation? I agree. It definitely does. But I want to see them make these core concepts and these core, like, I love the artifact weapon. I thought that was really cool. Like, maybe I'm asking for too much complication. Maybe I'm asking for this as like a not high-end player, but like I played the game a lot. And so like I want things that are like more complex and more in depth, but I do want this. I feel like it's such a shame that we lose out on all of these cool systems every expansion, even whenever Blizzard finally gets them to a place where they're really cool. What am I going to miss with BFA? I think Reaping Flames is one of the coolest abilities in the game, and I'm not going to be able to use it anymore whenever Shadowlands comes out. Condemn is close, but it's not there. I think the saddest thing about expansion, like ending of expansions, and like why people are mad about Borrowed Power is because we don't get to keep it. Like, I think the improvements of like the Heart of Azeroth and things like that, why not allow us to bring some form of that forward? Right? I mean, you obviously have to make it more streamlined and like more easy for people to get, but give us like some way to move that forward. Like, don't just get rid of everything. I don't know. Like, I feel like I don't want to go too much off on a tangent, but I feel like this isn't enough. I think we need more rings. I think we need more trinkets. I think we need a class-specific item, like a scabbard for warriors, a librum for paladins. You know, like the thing that we used to have. I want more items. I want more things to do. I want 2 chains. I want another necklace. I think the game is in like a point where it needs a renaissance of innovation in terms of like character development. And I feel like they're trying to do that with Borrowed Power, and they need to make it a baseline. Because like if you look at the character development and character like customization that a game like Baldur's Gate 3 has, or Divinity 2 has, or Path of Exile has, or a lot of these other games have, like WoW can't even hold a candle to it. And they need to have just more development and innovation in general. Baldur's Gate is epic customization? Yeah, I mean, like, you want to talk about RPGs, give us that kind of shit, man.
Such that when players end up, of course, leaving that expansion's content, they don't feel like their class has been changed in a sort of surprising way. And of course, that's very much referencing what happened when we lost our Legion artifacts, right? We were super powerful, then our artifacts went away, we went into BFA, and we felt pretty terrible. And this is where the conversation about Borrowed Power really, really did come up. And people were starting to say, like, hey, you know, my class, it changes through this expansion, and then we throw it all in the bin. And then we do it again for another expansion, and then we throw all that in the bin. And now we're in the Shadowlands expansion. We're going to get all of our borrowed power with our confidence, and our conduits, and our soul binds. And what's going to happen at the end of that? We're going to throw all of that in the bin. Blizzard, basically, with this change, we're trying to see if
it makes you feel like everything that you're working towards during the expansion doesn't matter. And like whenever you're working towards like these core systems, I don't know, like it's the same feeling that you get in like in raid tiers now, where you feel like it's like in classic WoW, they just do like such a great job at this. And like, I don't know how Blizzard somehow unlearned something that they spent years learning, is that in classic WoW, you want to do BWL, even if you know AQ is coming out, because you want to have the BWL gear to go into AQ. But now, because there's so much accessibility for the raids, because there's so many options for the raids, and there's so many easy ways to do them, you don't have that feeling that you want to get the gear in order to progress. It's like every new patch is like a whole new game. And that might sound cool in a way, but what the problem is, sorry, I got some in my eye. What the problem is with that is that you don't really have the same degree of excitement and the same degree of investment that you have in a character. And it's like the gear doesn't feel permanent in the same way. You don't feel like the gear is it's no longer a means to an end. It's just this like transient, meaningless thing that you just get every single patch. Yeah, you're not invested in it. I don't know. Like, I'd really like to see I'd like to see them go back on that. If I could change anything in the game, I think the one thing that I would change is I would change the raid progression. I hate how everybody only does Nilotha now, minus Eternal Palace for like 2 trinkets and the Azerite item, right? I think that's so bad. Like, we miss out on so much good content. I think all of the raids should be relevant for the entire expansion to some degree. And at this point, we have like 3 raids that are just completely invalid. Like Crucible, Uldir, and BOD are just completely invalid, minus like maybe people do Jaina for the mount. It just sucks. Yeah, like that's one thing that like if I could change anything in the game, I would make progressive raiding. Again, that's the one thing. Yes, like vanilla and TBC. Yeah, vanilla and TBC. Can't do that because Mythic Plus and PvP players are going to complain. You're right. I think they need to. There's another way for them to handle it, but I don't know what the solution is. But I feel like progressive rating and like progressive like character development, like the character progression arc is completely imbalanced right now, and I think it needs to be fixed.
You could preempt the throwing of the expansion's borrowed power in the bin by getting people very used to the idea that those powers only made sense in and only worked in the Shadowlands related content.
Bullshit.
But I think you can see how from a just day-to-day gameplay perspective, that doesn't really work. And what I find interesting here personally is, I mean, man, the fact that Ian's making that post, it shows that he knows what the problem with borrowed power is, right?
Mm-hmm.
I read that, and in the office, me, Matt, and Jared were sitting in the room, and we were just thinking to each other, guys, you're so close. You're so close to getting it that maybe this borrowed power is not the best thing for the long-term health of the game. Now, I can absolutely agree that at the very start of the Legion expansion, when we got this big surge of new stuff, yeah, it felt pretty good. People were pretty excited.
It was
but
awesome.
I think we're beginning to see that across the long term, it's maybe not the most healthy way to be developing the game. Certainly, if you've heard a lot of my coverage lately or Preach's coverage, a lot of it is us just saying, like, guys, you're here, you're trying to reinvent the wheel again and again and again. Is it really worth all the time that it's taking up?
Yeah, they do. They try to... Here's the thing with like Blizzard, here's what they do, man, is they try to fucking reinvent the wheel, but they're not reinventing the wheel. They're making a hoverboard, and then they have this problem with powering the hoverboard. And then suddenly now the hoverboard's going too fucking fast and people are falling off the hoverboard. So now we need to get a seatbelt for the hoverboard to make sure people don't fall off the hoverboard and hurt themselves. And then whenever they get on the hoverboard, then how are they going to be going circles and doing barrel rolls? We don't want them doing barrel rolls. So then we have to program the hoverboard with a gravity orientator to make sure that it doesn't go too far up or too far down. And all the people wanted, they don't want a hoverboard. Nobody wants a fucking hoverboard. They just want to roll with a wheel. Just give us another fucking wheel. That's it. Just make another fucking wheel. That's all we want. Make the fucking wheel. They do try to reinvent this shit way too much. I feel like Shadowlands is like it's the epitome of that. It's like they just continue trying to reinvent all of these new systems, and I don't understand it. Like, just let people do what they're going to do and focus on things that you're already good at. I don't know. It's not even a wheel. Well, at some points it's not. Some points it's like it gets better and worse, right? Like sometimes with a wheel, right? It's like sometimes it's not a circle, sometimes it's a square. Sometimes it's an octagon, we're doing pretty good. Sometimes it's a hexagon. Sometimes, like in WoD, we're working with a triangle. And so it's not a very smooth ride. That's the problem that we've got going on here. And yeah, just focus on the systems and make them better. I think that's really what everybody's been asking for.
And personally, I have to wonder if what happened is they just saw that the artifact weapons, like, I think they were a real Hail Mary, right? Because WoW was in such a bad place after Warlords of Draenor.
Absolutely.
And it kind of needed something extremely just crazy as a big new title feature to get people in and get them hyped.
I thought artifact weapons were fucking awesome, aside from the fact that some of the artifact weapons were lore items that I didn't feel like players should wield. So I didn't feel like players should wield Aluneth or something like that, or like Ashbringer. I don't feel like there's ever a point where somebody should use Ashbringer. I feel like artifact weapons would have been so much better if they had been designed in a way that they weren't actually just the most powerful lore items in the game, because I just think that it creates such a huge problem in terms of continuity and playing in an MMO. So like you see one guy with Doomhammer and you've got Ashbringer. This is not Tyrion and Thrall. This is XX Paladin and fucking Billy the Kid X. You know, like, I'm sorry, but it's not the same thing. Yeah, it's just, I don't know. I didn't like that at all, but I thought the idea of artifact weapons, the leveling them up and everything like that, was really cool. And like unlocking the new talents and everything for it was awesome. And I would have actually liked, like, if they could, in a perfect world, I would have loved to see artifact weapons. You could empower one of the traits, one of the gold traits from your artifact weapon to use now. So only one gold trait, you could empower it and use it now. I don't know. Would that be cool? Like, I think that'd be really cool. Maybe it's just like my opinion, but I think that'd be really cool.
I think that's what happened with Legion, but I think we're just seeing that while that may have been the play for then, it's not the long-term way to develop this game. I actually suspect that Ian is maybe close to agreeing based off the verbiage of his blue post, right? How he actually sort of worded it. Seems to be very aware that this is a looming problem in the horizon. Like. And I would just say, Blizz, if you felt the need to preempt a problem that's going to happen in 2 years by making changes to the beta of this expansion, so preempting the removal of borrowed power, feeling bad before you've even added the borrowed power to the live game, I mean, maybe that just shows that we should be thinking a little bit differently.
Maybe it's a problem with the philosophy and not necessarily the system itself. You know, if it's bad, if you're talking about how fundamentally bad it is, that people say that it's so fundamentally bad that they don't like it, maybe the problem is with the fundamentals. I don't know. It's just maybe my opinion. But it's both. Yeah, absolutely. It's both. Like a new row of talents. I don't know. Like Path of Exile has like this system where you can like get like these oils and like anoint a like really powerful talent point basically in like your skill tree. And that's kind of what I would want to see. Like, I don't know. It's just like a cool little thing that you can do to make your character a little bit better. I don't know. Like, I just like that. It's cool to me. I find it interesting. It adds depth and it just makes more customization options. It's just, I like it a lot.
In terms of how these things go. Really, though, I'm going to kick this over to you. Borrowed power systems, do you think that they are something that should be in the game in a very big way, like with the artifacts, or maybe in the game in a small way that's a bit more controlled? Or do you think that we should maybe just abandon this stuff a little bit more and go back to a more old school sort of development? I'd love to hear what you've got to say.
I don't think that borrowed power is fundamentally bad in all ways, because tier sets are borrowed power. Weapons and trinkets that you get, like Dragon Soul trinkets and Dragon Soul weapons were borrowed power, fundamentally. I don't think that borrowed power is fundamentally bad, but I think that whenever borrowed power systems make characters play in a way that's enjoyable to the player base, then I think those borrowed power systems should be integrated into the main game. And so, like, just basically taking the good borrowed power systems and making them core.
All right, we've got loads of smaller stories to go through. So, the alt skip has been added for the Covenant intro quests. That's something that's happened. This won't save that much time for the Necrolords, who have a really, really quick Covenant onboarding experience, but it will save lots of time for the Night Fae, and certainly this will be popular with alt players who just want to go and get on with it. Wow. That said, I think the only other thing that we need is a skip to the Maw, but actually thinking about the skip of the Maw intro, and skips of expansion intros are a normal thing that Blizzard does.
Skips are really
thinking
important.
About that skip, it's kind of interesting because the Maw intro gives you like almost a level of XP. Like, it's quite a big chunk of XP, and the Shadowlands Zone XP doesn't seem to be super abundant, so I've got to wonder if that's going to be iterated before release. So, there's that. another thing, the potency conduit change. This is going to be a big change for the performance-oriented players, where basically they're making it so that there are 2 potency conduit slots per soulbind, and that is down from 3.
That's the damage conduits.
Less potency conduits on your character. Is this a nerf to conduit importance overall?
It is.
I actually think it could be.
Yeah,
I'd say in my opinion, it's probably decent enough for these to be a bit less important, and it might make sense in the context of the next change that we're going to cover in this video. Also, it should help to flatten out the problem of some like soulbinds kind of getting more potency slots sooner than others. So there you go. They're reiterating on that, and probably it will help them actually meet the goals that they laid out in their delay post. Then also, legendaries. Yes, Blizzard have actually made a post saying that their tuning targets for legendaries were too short, too weak, and they basically
they were shitty. Like, I got my legendary, it's like, yeah, this makes Mortal Strike do 3% more damage, and it stacks twice. It's really cool. It's like, yeah, I thought they were fucking trash. Like, I did. It's like whenever I saw the legendaries for Legion, I was like, I remember I saw the fucking helmet that gave you rage whenever you enraged. I'm like, oh. I saw like the whirlwind fucking belt and the Gentis vertebra. I'm like, oh. And I would see like all the other ones, right? No, really, I did. I saw the bracers with Manoros that would heal you. I'm like, oh, yes. It was so amazing, man. And like, I looked at the ones from fucking Shadowlands, and I'm just like, okay. It's not as good. And not as good as all. I feel like the Shadowlands ones could be way better.
Going to be increasing them. So yes, your legendaries are getting a buff, and they'll be a more important part of your character. Now, in my opinion,
the legendaries need to play a bigger role in actually changing your gameplay. And that's actually what, like, one of the things, and I know people might not think about this, but one of the things that's made BFA really kind of stale is the fact that you don't have tier sets that really change your gameplay. Like, yeah, you've obviously had like some changes in the way that you play, but fundamentally, whenever I look at the way that my class played at the beginning of Legion versus the end, I feel like there's been so much of a larger difference in Legion versus in BFA.
Conduits being less important and legendaries being more important is good, because legendaries are kind of like talents once you've unlocked them, and you can just swap them about at will to customize your gameplay. I think that is less restrictive and a lot more fun when it comes to building out your character, so I'm glad that they are actually getting increased prominence. The next up, quick hit of class stuff. So Hunter's Mark actually has no longer got its damage component, but it is still in the GCD, and it really seems like it's now more about stuff like the stealth sight. Now here's the deal, okay? This sucked to use, because it basically just meant that before you did anything, you just had to hit a button to get 5% more damage. So it was just this really boring GCD that you had to use all the time. It did not add to gameplay. It was never an interesting decision or anything like that. It was just another GCD slapped on top of everything.
It's the same reason why they got rid of Sunder Armor. What he's saying here is that, like, you would just put Sunder Armor on a target before you were attacking the target. Now, I actually really enjoyed the way Sunder Armor and armor penetration worked in Vanilla WoW up until Wrath. But after Wrath, I thought armor modifiers were really badly done, because you were dealing it with percentages and you didn't get the opportunity to hit like those super low breakpoints for armor, where you could see like the massive gains in damage for physical attacks. And like that was one of the cool things about Classic, is like you can combine, like you've got Fairy Fire, you've got Sunder Armor, you've got Annihilator stacks, and like you're combining all of these armor armor reductions, and they have like an exponential return. So whenever you're doing all three of them, you're doing way more fucking damage, and it feels really good because the synergy is built into the fundamentals of the game, and I like that a lot, much more than what we had for like armor modifiers now.
Thing that sucked in target swapping situations. So this is a great change for the hunters.
You're right.
The next up for the rogues, Shadow Vault has been changed from a jumpy flippy thing to an explosive black powder that you sort of sprinkle on your enemies. Basically though, it no longer has a knock-up effect on your character, and overall I think this is a pretty darn good change. The next up, an update on Henry Cavill Watch. Boss Logic has used the new Witcher promotional shots of, it's quite funny because it's Geralt there, and he's in one of those sort of like bit of armor that actually sculpts his abs even more, so that's quite something. But yeah, they've actually went and they have they've touched it up to basically make that shot look like it's Arthas. Yes, another Henry Cavill Arthas, but this one seems to have actually got the attention of the man himself, who has liked it, seemingly on Instagram, and he atted Blizzard. So there you go. Will Blizzard see this and make it happen? Will it ever happen? Could we see some Henry Cavill Arthas content, be it a movie, be it a TV show? Who knows? I mean, I'll say this. If fans really get the hots for this idea and people just campaign for it, I would say it could certainly get a few conversations started. It could certainly, you know, put a little spray of WD-40 on the initial shall we do this convos. Why not? I mean, would World of Warcraft work as a Witcher-sized, sort of Witcher-budget fantasy show?
Please, yes. It would work so much better than some motion picture about a story that players and, like, fans don't have any emotional connection to. Who the fuck cares about Corona? Can you please just... Can you please just say that? Like, who the fuck cares about Corona? Like, I want to see some new shit. Like, I would love if they made like Henry Cavill Arthas, man. Like, that would be so fucking badass. And we will listen, Henry Cavill on Allcraft. I'll have my people talk to Henry's people and we'll see what happens, okay? But no promises. There's a lot of people. Corona? Well, yeah, obviously not gonna. No, everybody doesn't like Garona and Corona. Like, they don't like either one. It doesn't matter if I mispronounce it because the answer is still the same. Yeah, is she a bitch, man? Regardless, I'd love to see this, okay? Like, I really would love to fucking see this. This would be awesome.
Very much could, right? Couldn't it?
Yeah.
And I think Henry Cavill would be a pretty darn good choice, actually. Now, that said,
agree.
you would then sort of think, would it be a bit awkward having Henry Cavill be both Geralt and Arthas? Would that be awkward?
Probably be a lot of work for him, honestly.
Or would it be part of what? The Netflix horny fantasy universe? I think it would certainly work for that. I think there's a lot of people who would maybe see these shows as filling similar-ish niches.
Yeah.
And, yeah, I mean, the Witcher situation, like... The Witcher's pretty damn campy and like a bit crazy. I really enjoyed it, actually.
I love
even
it.
Though
it
certainly has some production issues, and it has that fantasy trope that absolutely does my head in, where for some reason steel, like, you know, swords can slice through body armor like butter, which is a little bit weird because...
Is that actually weird though, Bellular? Because I thought that, like, back in the day, like the initial like plate armor that was crafted was actually extremely weak. And, like, it wasn't until way later on, whenever they had so many improvements in, like, metalworking, that you really saw that. Yeah, well, regardless, I thought The Witcher was fucking awesome. I don't think that they're going to do The Witcher, like, Henry Cavill's going to be The Witcher and Arthas at the same time. That would be, like, a ridiculous fucking amount of work for that guy to do. But what I would like to see them do, for sure, no matter what, is I just want them to do an animated series like Castlevania. That's what I want to see. Like, I want an animated series like Castlevania. I will be so happy if they just do that. Like, that will keep me entertained until they do something that's more substantial. And, like, I know League of Legends is doing one. I'm going to watch that. I don't even like League, but I'm going to watch the series.
You know, blunt weapons actually existed to crush armor plating and things like that. So sword doing that doesn't make that much sense. And that battle scene in the first episode was, okay, I don't want to have a big moment with you, but I'll say this. I thought it was a pretty entertaining, enjoyable show. And it did get one thing completely right, and that was a whole bunch of the characters. So I thought that was pretty cool. And I think Henry Cavill did an absolutely fantastic job of being Geralt. I think he really nailed that. So... certainly, the idea of a fantasy TV show at that budget getting a positive return on investment for a group like Netflix, well, that's been proven. Could it happen for Warcraft? Who knows? I certainly, I'll throw my hat in the ring. I'd like that to happen. Let's make it happen.
There it is.
Okay, finally, Naxxramas has hit the public test realm for WoW Classic. That's pretty big, actually. It's the final major patch to Classic, and if you want to watch a pretty long, in-depth video on what this patch actually meant, then you can check out our Naxxramas episode of the complete
I don't know when this is
going to Warcraft, because it does cover...
when's this going to happen? Like, I want to be able to test Nax. Like, I like, Blizzard should, like, fucking tell us, like, yeah, we're going to do it, like, on this day, because I really want to do it. I'll check Wildhat after
As
this,
for what's to
okay?
come next, well, that's bloody obvious, isn't it? It's going to be classic TBC. Personally, I expect an announcement and reveal in February. I think that will almost certainly happen at the online edition of BlizzCon.
I'd love to
I think
see
we'll
that.
get a beta shortly after that, and I think that it will be ideally, in the sort of financials for Blizzard, the major World of Warcraft release of 2021. And I do think...
I actually have to say that my I'll have to talk with my other people. But I actually think that the announcement tomorrow might include some information about TBC.
That's Blizzard's plan, a tick-tock between them, right?
Exactly.
It's a pity now that whenever you say
I was so disappointed in this cinematic that her boobs weren't bigger.
TikTok, people think of the social media app instead of how I see TikTok as being Intel's old CPU generation
I see it as being
strategy.
spyware.
Anyway, ideally, I'd say Blizzard would want, you know, Modern Warcraft 1 year, Classic the next year, Modern the next year, you know, something like that.
Perfect.
I do wonder, though, if we will get a World of Warcraft expansion in 2022. I have to imagine that's going to be Blizzard's goal, but of course Shadowlands will be a bit more late. So hard to say exactly what's going to go on there. But anyway, I think that's what's going to be going on for Classic. And really, that is it for today's episode, unless it's like some other episodes where every time I record something, something happens that changes it. I mean, we do the leveling guide, bam, it gets changed the next day. We do our video about, should Shadowlands be delayed? Bam, it gets delayed 4 hours later. The most recent episode of the WoW News that I recorded before this one, also, I recorded it and then bam, something happened. So maybe this one will be one and done. We'll have to see.
It was.
Of course, if you want to support us and get a whole bunch of cool things that will arrive in this cool new
I really should just sign up for Bellullar's
Patreon is the place.
I really should do that.
Created,
I've been so lazy.
all your support over the last month. It's created 2 new jobs, and that's all going right back into the content for you. It's all pretty sweet. So thank you for the support. Thanks for watching this video. Let me know what you think about what we covered, and I will see you next time.
There it is. If we ever fucking have Bellular on Allcraft, whenever we end the episode, I'm gonna play that fucking music. Which, by the way, Bellular, it's been 2 years. Huh? Huh? 2 years.